Greetings, everyone. Gleekon here again with another episode of Lore of Warcraft. Stay a while and listen to this one, The Awakening of Medivh. We are now, negative 21. We're 21 years before the Dark Portal, just when you thought it was so close, a couple years away. They back it up. I do think this is, again, mostly recap of what's happened, so I don't think it's going to be fine. We're going to go through here pretty fast. On the last one, we just kind of, again, we recapped how Medivh was born, his early youth up until age 14. He is possessed, unbeknownst to him, by a portion of Sargeras. And the last that we left off, his powers exploded out of him. He killed his dad. His mom's out of the picture, hiding underwater somewhere, possibly dead. And he fell into a coma. So here we go. While Medivh was in a coma, Azeroth enjoyed a time of relative peace. However, that did not mean the world was safe. Conflict was a daily occurrence. Tribes battled with tribes, villages squabbled with villages, and kingdoms spied on kingdoms. Yet by and large, Azeroth's inhabitants were prosperous. In the eastern kingdoms, humans engaged in rigorous trade with dwarves, gnomes, and high elves. The future alliance, for the most part. Again, the high elves are the potential future blood elves, though, so there is going to be some bad blood, that happens between that, and eventually they're going to ally with the night elves instead. Some nations like Lordaeron acted as regional leaders and trendsetters. They mediated disagreements between smaller kingdoms and used their strong militaries to impose order over the land. Others, like Dalaran, made extraordinary advances in the study of arcane arts and other academic fields. Still others focused their resources on defending themselves from old rivals. The elves of Quel'Thalas spent much of their time fending off encroachments from the Amani trolls, which does isolate them for the most part. They won't be able to help that much, aside from sending some rangers into the wars. Lordaeron may help in these first couple wars, but by the time they get to Warcraft 3, I believe they're going to be overcome by their own problems and become the Forsaken. Dalaran does not want anything to do with anything because they're focused on their arcane arts, which are looked on with skepticism. So while they may send some mages, eventually they're going to rip themselves off and send themselves above Northrend. In Kalimdor, the Night Elves continued their ancient traditions. Druids explored the Emerald Dream, a realm of wonder and power that guided the natural life of the physical world. For the most part, the Night Elves kept their attention focused outward to the cosmos, ever vigilant for the Burning Legion. And most of our heroes, Malfurion and his druids, are in a way, they're hibernating. They're spending so much of their time looking outward. They're not looking within, and they're staying out of the big picture, which is going to create some tension and distance between Tyrande, who is actually the leader of the Night Elves, and old Malfurion. And Illidan is locked up. The Night Elves still remembered the War of the Ancients, the dark time in history when demons invaded the world and nearly destroyed it. Many Night Elves believed that Legion would eventually come back. They expected the demons' return to be dramatic, apocalyptic, heralded with fire and brimstone from the skies. None suspected that a mortal race from another world, a dying world, would soon seek to conquer Azeroth. And none suspected that Medivh, a man born to protect Azeroth, would make it all possible. Almost 10 years after slipping into his coma, he finally awoke, so I guess he's probably around 23. In the days that followed, Medivh reunited with his old friends. Leyen Rin was poised to become king of Stormwind. Anduin Lothar had risen in the ranks and was a highly regarded knight and military commander. And I think the Knights of Lothar are a faction, and you definitely get to play with him in Warcraft 2, maybe Warcraft 1. They were both happy to see that Medivh had recovered from his strange illness, but they were preoccupied by new troubles brewing in the south. Over the years, Stormwind's farmers and settlers had been pushing south, claiming more and more territory near the jungles of Stranglethorn Vale. So that means they've sort of skipped over, because they've already been working in the Westfall, the Duskwood, which they called, it's something else, some other wood, I can't remember. It's not Duskwood yet. Some of these other things had come to happen. The Blasted Land, the Burning Steppes, all that was because of the dwarves. So they're like skipping through those lands and they're pushing forward into the jungles, the northern Stranglethorn. That had brought them into contact with the Gorbashi tribes. Blood had been spilled and the conflict had escalated from small skirmishes to frequent raids by troll warbands, which is probably why the trolls and the orcs ally, because the trolls hate them. So then when they see these orcs coming to whoop their butt, the enemy of my enemy kind of thing. Lane's father Baratheon, the elderly king of Stormwind, dispatched his forces in a defensive manner, commanding his soldiers to intercept raiding parties, but forbidding retaliatory strikes into Gurbashi land. He had no interest in a full-scale war with the trolls. His son advocated for a sterner posture. Lane wanted to teach the trolls a lesson, even if that meant invading Gurbashi territory. The private debates between king and prince grew heated. For months, Medivh took no part in Stormwind's politics. Since waking up, he had struggled to deal with his guilt over his father's death, an event he still did not truly understand. Unsettling dreams were also plaguing him. Sometimes he dreamt of a woman who urged him to travel to a place called Karazhan. Other times, he dreamt of a dark presence dwelling in his mind, twisting his thoughts. Yeah, because he's possessed. And that's his mom wanting him to come meet up with her. He decided to ignore these dreams. Medivh felt most at peace when he was with his friends, so he focused his attention on helping them. He joined their efforts in dealing with the Gurbashi. What is the name? I couldn't remember. I can never remember in the heat of these episodes. But there's that other wizard. He's the guy who really kicks off Warlords of Draenor. He's another wizard. Not Medivh. He's basically kind of the next most powerful guy. He's very important for future Warcraft. Whatever. Okay. All right, so now we're getting somewhere. We're past where we left off with the First Chronicles now, because we didn't really talk about these things then. So we'll finally get into current events, or sort of catching up to where the orcs are very shortly in these next episodes of Lore of Warcraft. This one in the pipe, 5x5. Thank you so much for listening to me and giving me your time. I appreciate it.